Many of you guys love the analysis that I do on my channel here across equity research, portfolio strategy, macroeconomics. But today I want to open up a little bit and tell you a story about how I've encountered some pretty serious career setbacks a couple years ago. And hopefully this will give you more perspective on how to avoid the same mistakes that I made so that you can be more successful earlier. So number one, I want to thank you guys for 50K subscribers, and that's the purpose of this video, to share a little bit more about myself. I feel an obligation to tell you guys a little bit more about who I am, what I'm about, what kind of values that I hold. So here goes. Grab some tea, grab some water, let's do it. So friends, I failed the CFA Level 3 test a couple years ago. Before I got the CFA charter, I encountered quite a bit of obstacles along the way. And not only that, I also got passed up for promotion. And I want to walk you through why that might have been the case and how you can avoid being in this kind of situation. So let me take you into my world. Let me bring you into my past and help you avoid mistakes that I made so that you can be more successful faster. So when I was in my early 20s, out of school, I joined a really well-respected global asset management firm. And I was a research analyst there. That's where I built my foundation for what you see on my channel today. Macro, equity research, political research, portfolio strategy, and things like that. Now, at the time, in order to move up at this company, and also across the broader investments industry, you have to pass the CFA exams, level 1, level 2, level 3. Anybody in the industry knows they're difficult tests. Now, at the time, I was really focused on just passing this damn thing. I was really focused on seeing the CFA as a means to an end. I wasn't really interested in learning the material. All I wanted to do was memorize all the formulas, okay, from the Kaplan-Schweizer resources. If you study this test, you'll know what I mean. All I wanted to do was memorize all the formulas, know everything that I needed to do, and then just pass it, move on, get paid more, and get promoted, right? But if you think about that perspective from a more mature level, that kind of thinking that I had was very superficial. And so rather than learn and understand the topics deeply, I was focused on just passing and so that I could get promoted. Now, naturally, I want to openly admit, and I hope you don't make the same mistake, if I thought like this to prepare for this exam, then naturally, the way I think about work is also similar. And so just like a guy in his young 20s, what do people do all the time in the finance industry? You'll know what I'm talking about if you work in finance. You're always comparing against one another. How is this person doing at this bank? How is this person doing at that investments firm? How is this person doing at this company, right? And LinkedIn becomes this place where you're always comparing yourself with other people. And I subscribed to that kind of thinking for several years. And while that kind of thinking allowed me to pass level 1 and level 2 and do my job in a decent way, it would eventually prevent me from passing level 3. And it would eventually cause me to get passed up for a promotion. So what had worked for me in the first 2 stages of this really hard test did not work for level 3. And I remember when I got my level 3 exam results back, which was not favorable, I remember wanting to give up on this test. I remember not wanting to keep going. And that was because my resolve at the time was not very strong. It was because my why, my reason for getting this designation was only to get promoted, was only to advance in my career. It wasn't to actually improve my skills as an analyst. And that's where my parents told me I was thinking about it all wrong. So quick tip, always trust your parents. When things go wrong, your parents are there for you, and they know better. They simply have lived longer, right? So listen to your parents. That's a really sound piece of advice that I want to share with you. And they told me, Larry, you're thinking about it all wrong. If you pass this test and you get the CFA charter holder designation, but you don't know what you're talking about and you're not a very good analyst, that might even hurt your career even more. Being really good looking on paper, but not very practical in terms of application of skills. And when they told me that opened up the way I thought about not just this test, but my career. That money and resources and attention comes to you when you have value to add. When you look good on paper, but you don't actually have any unique insights, you eventually become a commodity. And I told myself, well, I don't want to become a commodity. So the second time I studied for the level 3 test, I was determined to not just learn the content, but whenever there were models or figures that I wanted to learn more about, Google search became my best friend. I dug into topics deeper, outside of the curriculum, so that I could form unique insights that people studying just the standard framework might not have picked up. And by the time I took the exam again, I was quite prepared. And the questions, the second time around, it felt like a conversation with me. And in order for me to pass this test, all I needed to do was have a really good conversation. And that's exactly what happened. I took the test for a second time, and I passed. But by that point, it was already too late in terms of how I had progressed at the company I was at the time. And I had gotten passed up for promotion. And just like many corporations, you never really learn why. Sometimes companies give great detailed feedback. Sometimes they don't, and that's fine. And this to me was, it was a double whammy. I failed the level 3 exam once. I had to retake it, and then I got passed up for promotion. But rather than think about blaming the circumstances, rather than blaming the environment, I realized that I could have done better. That the way I approached studying and my mentality at the beginning had been totally wrong. And that in my next pursuit, I would give my work quality 150%. Because the company you work for, the clients that you serve, they deserve nothing less than 150% of your effort. If a company has decided to employ you, clients have decided to hire you, you have an obligation to do them good. And that was what I really took away from being passed up for promotion. And so at the end of my role at my previous company, I had a fork in my career. And I had actually gotten into the final round interviews at Fidelity at a really, really impressive role. It was a really good role. The career path was awesome, and it was something that I had wanted to do for a long time. At the same time, I had built up a relatively sizable following, teaching critical thinking and growing people's intelligence through math and English for teenage youth. And I decided to take the entrepreneurial route. I took a calculated bet and I decided to take the path of entrepreneurship because this time I had decided that if my work quality isn't good, I want the world to let me know. I want society to let me know. And that would be the ultimate judge as to whether I was doing the right thing or not. And so I gave entrepreneurship 150% of my effort and my energy, my soul, right? Really poured my heart into it. And between 2018 to 2020, I had reached some really awesome personal milestones. And today I get to do what I love. I get to do what I want to do. I'm not going to, blatantly say that I have made a lot of money, but I've done well. And that's because I've learned from my mistakes, from what happened back when I was studying for the CFA exams earlier in my career and the way I viewed work. Today, the way I think about perspective is, comparison is the thief of joy. And so if you're employed at a company, I want to let you know that if you want to grow your confidence, it's about beating your own personal record and not comparing yourself with others. How much other people make, how much other companies pay employees, that's not relevant. Because what I've come to realize is, like I said earlier, when you add some serious value, when you are good at what you do, eventually, kind of like supply and demand in economics, that equilibrium, it will find you and you will be rewarded. But if you're constantly, not having the right mindset, then it could drag you, just like it did to me. So 2022 is coming up. I want this to be a good year for you. I want you to find success in the markets. And the way this relates to investing is not focusing too much on the outcome, but instead on the quality of the process. So on my channel, I focus a lot of my energy and attention on sharing my best research insights for you. How that ultimately plays out is anybody's guess. We're in a very volatile political environment. I'm sure you guys would agree. The most important thing, though, is to have a really solid research process so that we can enhance our chances and stay cool. And so that's what I intend to keep doing. And so the research insights that I've shared on my channel is as a result of my, the way I've grown as a person over the years. I don't want to produce anything that I don't think is good. If I don't have an insight to share, I'm not going to share it just for the sake of, creating noise. So I hope you guys found this valuable. Why don't you let me know in the comments below if there were any setbacks that you were able to overcome. I'd love to hear more about your story. And if you want to follow my work and my research for investments, it's very easy. All you got to do is hit that subscribe button and turn on that bell. So I told you guys a bit earlier in my previous couple of videos that I will be creating a private investment community in 2022. And you can bet that the same level of dedication that I treat my work now is going to make that community really awesome. Going to make it thoughtful, going to grow it slowly, going to add a lot of value. But I want people who are focused on the process and not just the outcome. We'll get good outcomes, but I want everyone to know that sometimes some things are outside of our control. Well, with that said, I hope you guys have a really great holiday season, and I will see you in my next video.